So GP uses TLS connection to portal. Firewall responds with a SAML redirect message pointing to the IDP. So SSO request getting generated. This is the SSO payload for authentication. You will see if you're seeing a different auth profile, that means it is not taking the correct auth profile. You should always see the correct auth profile over here. And then this is the ACS URL, which I was explaining. And then this is the IDP URL. Now you will see a successful redirect message so that we know that firewall has redirected the user to the IDP. So I'll just do one thing. I'll just Control F and type redirect. Line number 6. Okay, here. So the client 10.10.10.1 redirected to the IDP for authentication. And once there's a successful authentication, we will see if remember the keyword. This one, pan auth request pass SSO response, and then pan auth success. So pan auth success, that means portal authentication was successful. You will see more information. It is for this profile, and this is the real estate information. You will also have more information like if single logout is enabled, is it using cloud authentication service? Once we know that this authentication is successful, we will have another authentication, and that is for the gateway. So we will see something same over here. The second one, line number 28. So 28. Yep. So 28. The keyword pan auth request SAML create SSO. Remember, we only see twice. We don't see it thrice because we have only connected it once, and for one connection it authenticates to portal and authenticates to the gateway, so we see it twice. Then SSO request payload, client redirected to this URL, and auth success, succeeded to verify signature against certificate of IDP. We once the ACS information was shared with the firewall knows the username. Okay, so this is how you can check whether a SAML authentication is actually successfully happening on the firewall or not, whether the firewall is redirecting to the correct SAML IDP, whether the firewall is using the correct auth profile. If there is an issue with the IDP certificate, it will not validate with the IDP certificate as well. A lot of times, customers come to us because their IDP certificate expired. So they see that GP is not able to connect, but when we go to the authentication logs, we know the certificate expired. That's why the user is unable to connect to the IDP. So for SAML authentication related issues on the firewall, you can view it through the auth logs. Even if you go to the system logs or the GP monitor logs, you can also get this information through those logs as well. But if you want more details, then you can go to the auth log. With the auth log, if you want to see, or we are not able to see much information from the auth logs, and we know there could be an issue with the GP application, then we proceed with the GP app log. So how to view GP app log? The first basic thing, you have to extract the GP application log. So I go to GP settings. Under troubleshooting, I have already selected a dump level. I've replicated the issue. Now I'll click on collect logs. So it will ask me to check the select the folder. I'll just select desktop. I'll just delete the old logs. Okay, this is the log which I've generated. So in this log, you'll have a lot of log files, but there should be three files you should focus on. The first, which you should always go through it, is the GP event log. So pan GP event log, I'll take that out. So why this file is important? Because if any event is triggered, like unsuccessful authentication or successful authentication, you will get that event information from here. So I'll just open this event log. So it will not give you a lot of details, but then whenever an event is triggered, you will get that information from here. Why this is important? Because from this, you can get information of the timestamp when that event was triggered, and as per that timestamp, you can go through the GPS and GPA log. I'll open GPS and GPA log. I'll show you how big that log can be. So it is difficult. It can be difficult to review it manually because there are thousands of lines of logs. But when you know the timestamp, you can verify the log around that timestamp. So the last time a IPsec tunnel was established on this application was for 24/12. You also need to remember GP logs are the logs based on the timestamp of the Windows system or wherever the application is installed. And on the firewall, the logs may have a different timestamp because the firewall may be configured on a different time zone. So there could be different timestamp on the firewall. There could be different timestamp on the client machine. For example, firewall is based in US and the client is based in Singapore. Okay. So whenever he's trying to connect, the GP application will always have their logs in Singapore time zone, but the ODD logs will always be in PST or EST time zone wherever the firewall is deployed. So we have to convert accordingly and verify the logs on the firewall as per the logs on the client's machine. So here we notice portal login completed with address this. Here gateway login finish and here IPsec tunnel established. So we know around 423 a login was like a login attempt was generated. That's why it got completed. So what we'll do, we'll review the pan GPS log around 423 and pan GP logs around 423. So I'll open those two logs and I'll show you why it's important to review under that review the same timestamp or review the logs near that timestamp. And pan GPA, pan GPS. All right, so I'll open pan GPA log. Okay, so you can see here this log starts from 214, but then it has logs of microseconds. So it may have a lot of log files or logs which could be difficult to read. So it's always recommended from the event log, get that event timestamp and then review log near to that event. So we notice 423 our portal login got completed. So we'll directly jump to 423 on GPS and GPA. Here it is, 423. So you guys can see, right, around even around 423 there are lots of logs. Now here when I was explaining you the keywords you can filter out, that's easier. So if you remember for portal pre-login, you will see logs like portal pre-login starts and then GlobalProtect pre-login.esp. This is under pan GPS. So what I'll do, I'll just copy this and go under pan GPS and filter the log. So I know the portal login was initiated around 423. So I'll go under 423. This is the last attempt. So here is my portal login was initiated. You can see portal login starts. Then if I go a little down, I will see GlobalProtect pre-login.esp as well. Or else I can also filter out this keyword. For 2317, it was initiated. So this means a portal login was initiated. This is the portal IP address 10.10.10.1. I'm using 443 and it's portal login.esp. So this is where a portal login starts. If I go up, you will see that portal login start message. Here it is. So portal login initiated. Next, once portal login is initiated, we should see a SAML request. So we know it's around 423.17, but if we search for SAML requests, it should be around 423.17. Pan GPS. Okay, yeah, here it is. 423.17. This is my SAML request for portal. So we are able to see the successful SAML request on the application. That means till now, SAML request was initiated. Client is redirected to the IDP. We are able to see that information in the auth log. Let's see that information on the pan GPA log. Here we'll be able to see the IDP URL and also if like the pop-up and that I'm also using embedded browser, so I should be able to see the embedded browser. This should be around the same timestamp for 17. So I'll go to pan GPA, embedded. Let's search for this keyword. Oh, sorry, typo. After 4, so for 2018, showing show page embedded browser. If I scroll down, we should be able to see page URL navigated to. See the SAML request here as well. So this is the page URL navigated to. That means it is successfully navigated to the IDP URL. So till now, when we talk about portal authentication, we have seen SAML requests, we have seen portal authentication getting generated, and then we also notice page URL navigated to the IDP URL for SAML. And then you remember we got a pop-up where we are entering username and password, a HTML pop-up potential a SAML authentication login page. Whatever we are seeing in this log, we are also observing, and these are live logs which I have taken right now. IDP returns SAML assertion and redirects browser to the GP portal. Let's see the SAML ACS URL if you're able to see it over here. So I'll filter out with ACS URL itself. So Control F 10.10.10.1. Okay, a lot of lines. Better I'll filter. So page navigated to this URL. Above this, navigated to this HTML pop-up, and then next one, it navigated to the ACS URL. So this is the URL. It is being received from the IDP so that the browser will initiate, or GP application will use the browser to initiate a separate connection to share the information to the firewall so that the firewall can authenticate and generate a SAML pre-login cookie, and that pre-login cookie we can use to authenticate to the gateway, right? So what we have noticed, if we go back to the flow, we notice how GP uses how GP logs looks like when the GP application is trying to log in to the portal on the GP app. We also notice how SAML authentication logs looks like when the GP is trying to log into the SP, that is the firewall, and how SAML redirect message will look like on the firewall under auth log, and how SAML redirect URL will look like under PAN GPA and GPS log. So an IDP have validated the client credential and the result in a SAML accession payload along with the redirect message sending the browser back to the portal or gateway's ACS URL. This we have verified because we can see the portal ACS URL in the GPA logs. Once the GP application receive that information, it will initiate a separate connection to the ACS URL. So this is the ACS URL it has received. It will send create a separate connection and send username to update. All right. Next. So we know it has been redirected. We know IDP returns a SAML session and redirect to the browser to the GP portal ACS URL. Then firewall will validate the assertion. We have seen it get validating the assertion with pass SSO response. I've already shown you. We will also see the username, which we have already seen, and we have also seen signatures validated against the IDP certificate in the auth log. Now, once portal authentication is successful, I informed you portal is authenticated to fetch the gateway information from the firewall. Okay, and then we'll also see a pre-login cookie. So search for the pre-login cookie under PAN GPA. So the timestamp was 4:23 after that. Okay, this is old. For 23. So here we can see the portal pre-login cookie. And then after portal pre-login cookie under pan GPS, we should be able to see fetching the gateway configuration or the config from the portal. So get config. Let's go back to pan GPS. Sorry, find all in current document. So around 423, we notice URL GlobalProtect get config. So if I go back to my event, after that, a gateway login will be finished. So around 423.55, I see a get config. And then if I scroll down, right now my status is disconnected. Okay, better use the keyword. Okay, so gateway pre-login start. So here my gateway pre-login starts. Check cert for the certificate. So I informed you how you can differentiate it is for gateway or portal. For gateway, the URL will be sslvpn prelogin.esp. sslvpn prelogin.esp. And for portal, it's globalprotect prelogin.esp. So gateway authentication has started. The same thing I already showed you in the authentication logs, how authentication logs will look like. It will be something similar to the portal authentication log, where we'll see redirection and IDP URL and SAML ACS URL. Client is redirected. If you remember a HTML pop-up message, right? So you remember when we logged into this application, we only got one pop-up when we logged in username and password, because second time when we are talking about gateway authentication, it is using the pre-login cookie. IDP returns the ACS URL. Pan GPA. Oh, sorry. So page navigated to this. This is the ACS URL. See the timestamp 42403, and when get config and it initiated 5 seconds before that. So after that, once SSL connection or connection for gateway is initiated, it reaches to IDP. IDP send the ACS URL, and then we get the ACS URL over here, and then it gets navigated to this ACS URL. This is what we observe in this slide as well. Then after this, we notice the same information in the auth D log, where there was a pan auth success message, which I already saved it over here at the bottom. Pan auth success. Line 97. Yeah, here it is. Okay, now that's for admin. So you have to also check the user. So authentication log will also show you logs for other authentication on the firewall. So make sure when we talk about pan auth success, it should be user GP user. So let's search for GP user. Pan auth success. Okay, pan auth success SAML. Line 54. Yeah, this is the message we should focus. Pan auth success SAML response and username. This is the username. So this is where my gateway authentication was successful, and we notice the auth profile, the name provided by IDP, and more information if it is using cache or single logout enabled or not. And we need to verify it in the logs, in the auth logs, pan GPS, pan GPA, and pan GP event as per the timestamp. We need to verify because there might be a lot of login events or login attempts on the application, but when we are verifying it with auth, the log should be in the same or nearby the same time, or else you may be looking for a log for a different time where maybe like previously when the user initiated. So both logs should match. If the firewall and a user's system are in different time zone, convert the time zone and then verify the logs. Then we have also verified how the logs will look like under GP monitor log and the system logs. So whatever we are seeing in the auth, we are also able to see the same logs under the system logs for authentication. We have already discussed best practices. Okay, troubleshooting guidelines. In general, issue could be either on GP client, portal, gateway, or on the IDP. As I mentioned, switch client log setting to dump level. Enable debug authentication logs on the firewall. So how to enable? You can run this command debug authentication on debug. So to run that, I need to restart this. So when I talk about debug authentication on debug, that's the same auth D log. We are just running a debug. Debug on debug, and to view, either you can do less mplog or d, or you can use, if you're doing a live troubleshooting, you can use tail follow yes mplog or tlog. So you can use any of these command to verify the log, and once you have already replicated the issue, run the above command and remove it from debug to info mode, right? Check GlobalProtect and system monitor logs on the firewall web UI. So under monitor, check for the GlobalProtect and the system logs. So you can get error information from these logs. Most of the times, you can always troubleshoot and find the root cause from these logs as well. You don't have to go and check the CLI again. So in general, not with SAML, firewall needs to pass GP client XML messages sent for SSL VPN to RAS manager. So there, when you're unable to find information from the GP monitor or OD logs, you might have to get debugs on SSL VPN log, RAS manager log. So the same thing, debug SSL VPN global on debug. These are the commands for SSL VPN. And then how to view less mplog appweb3-ssl vpn.log, RAS manager, debug, RAS manager on debug, and then how to view less mplog, RAS manager log on RAS manager.log. Always remember, whenever you're collecting a debug, once you've replicated the issue, move the logs back to the info mode. Debug will have a detailed log. It may not consume a lot of memory, but it can when you have a lot of traffic on the firewall. So always move it back to the info mode. Once you have set all the logs in debug, reproduce the issue, take the note of timestamp of the issue, collect the GP client logs, switch back GP client logs setting to debug, turn off the debug commands on the firewall, and generate TSF. Always remember, it's the customer who is responsible for the IDP related authentication issues. For example, if there are no issues on the firewall, we are able to see correct redirection. However, it's the IDP who is denying the authentication. Then in that case, you may have to reach out to your IDP team to check on it. Because when we talk about Palo Alto, our scope is only limited to the firewall and the GP application. So I have added 3 important resources. I'll share this article in the chat. So these are very important articles. A lot of times when the customers come to us for troubleshooting any issue, all the information are available. Customer could have actually troubleshooted the issue on their own, but they ignore these articles and they directly come to us. So if you go to the article, you can troubleshoot the issue on your end, and you can also save a lot of time. I've shared those information in the chat. So the first article, GlobalProtect troubleshooting, important article. I'll just open it on the screen. Okay, so this is an article which explains how you can troubleshoot GlobalProtect related issue. It talks about detail how you can collect packet captures. You have documents how to run packet capture on data plane, how to run packet capture on management plane. It also explains what logs you need to collect debug. So for example, SSL VPN log, main log file for SSL VPN related activities. PAN packet diag log to verify handling of initial SSL requests, OD log for authentication related issues, RAS manager for client login, logout events, portal gateway configuration matching issues, and user ID for user IP mapping or group mapping. It has a lot of more details. I'm not going through it, but then you can always go through it and understand how you can troubleshoot a GP on your own. The second one is the one which is a very good article, which actually talks about SAML in detail. So that's also one of our KBs. It talks about SAML. It has very good information about SAML, and it explains it in an easy manner, so it's easily understandable. How does SAML works? How post bindings, SS of a portal, SAML logical flow. It has a lot of details. Also, if you want to decode SAML, it also explains how you can decode SAML messages through SAML decoder or any other extension on the browser. So, and then once you decode it, it has more information about the decoded SAML message, what it will look like and what does it mean. So you can go through it. And the third one, which I'm talking about, is hope it's not the same, right? Yeah. So it's GlobalProtect configuring and troubleshooting. So you may face these issues. So we have articles related to issues, for example, how to configure portal page to be accessed on any port, or how to add company logo on GlobalProtect portal login page. So go through this article. If you are having an issue or if you need any configuration assistance, you may find an article already here and you can go through it. Instead of opening a ticket with TAC, you can resolve it on your own as well. It has a lot of articles associated, so you can go through it. So these are these are the three very main important resources for SAML and for troubleshooting GlobalProtect related issues. The logs, how does the log look? How you can verify the logs? And for example, when we talk about these logs, if if you're not able to log into the GP, and if from the logs you can verify, is it getting stuck under the portal authentication stage, or under the gateway authentication stage, or it is authenticating portal but then it is not getting redirected to the IDP itself. That is something which we can review the logs and find out where it is getting stuck, and accordingly, if it is getting redirected but then IDP is not responding back, we can reach out to the IDP team. If it is not even redirecting to the IDP team or IDP URL, we can verify it through the logs, and then accordingly we can verify on the firewall why it is not redirecting to the IDP. So the logs are important to understand the stages of authentication and where it is getting stuck. That's why I explained how the log will look like when you're authenticating GP under ODD log, PAN GPS, and GPA log with event. All right. So other than resource, I don't have any other thing to discuss. I am done with this presentation. If you have any questions right now, you can let me know.
Okay. Yeah, we do have a couple of questions that came up a little bit earlier. I just didn't want to break your flow.
Okay.
Meng is then asking, is in SAML profile, if we used a wildcard certificate from a third party, would we still need to select identity provider certificate? Any impact now that we select it?
Okay. Let me go back to the configuration.
And while you do that, Daniel was asking earlier, is if the IP address of 10.10.10.10, is that the client's public IP address?
No, that's not a client's public IP. That's my client's private IP. 10.10.10.10 cannot be public IP.
Okay, so yeah, in this example, yeah, it was 10. But you were emulating like 10.176 or something for an external address, though, right?
Okay, in my lab. Okay, let me
Right, and
answer this.
but that was because it was your lab setup. That right there, yeah.
Yeah, so 10.194.136.136, that's my lab IP. It gets NATed to a public IP before going to the ISP. So you may have a different IP, but then yeah, this can be a public IP as well. This can be a private IP as well. But if it has to go to internet, this has to be NATed to a public IP and then go to internet. Here in
Okay,
my
yeah. So
case,
in
it's
that
not a
instance,
public IP. Yeah,
yeah. So in that instance, even though it's a 10 dot address, you're emulating an external interface, but
that's
the
correct.
10.10.10.10 is a definite NATed address. I hope that answers that for you, then, Daniel. So I'll let you go ahead and answer Meng's question. Then go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm just going to Ming's question again. A wildcard. So let's go back to the SAML profile. So if you use wildcard certificate from a third party, would we still need to select identity provider certificate? Ma'am, this certificate is actually provided by the IDP itself. I'm not using any third-party certificate. I'm not sure how the third-party certificate will work with the IDP certificate. That is something maybe IDP team can answer, because this configuration is being provided by the IDP itself. So this is something we need to check with IDP if we can use a third-party certificate with this IDP profile.
So Meng, yeah, just let us know if that did or did not answer your question any further. I think the last question we had, at least at the moment, is Ismail was asking, does the cookie for the override authentication require certificate on the firewall as well?
No, it doesn't require certificate. So authentication cookie, you can define it in your configuration under portal and gateway. If I go back to the network, so you can generate authentication cookie for override. And if you want to encrypt and decrypt, you can use information over here, but then you can use it without. So once the cookie is generated in successful login event, it will use the cookie to log in instead of entering the username and password. And you can use it for both gateway and portal.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the moment, I think
Yeah.
that's it as far as questions then. You've gotten a number of compliments, by the way. Amazing presentation. Thank you. Did find the information informative, filled a couple of information gaps. So, as always, Sid, thank you very much for everything. So thank you as well for helping out, answering questions out in the chat. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Charles. It was
Yep.
pleasure. And yeah, this information will be shared by Charles to the live event, so you can always go to a recording.
Yep. Yeah, we'll have the recording for the actual presentation, and then the actual slides in a day or two. They will be up on the live community article as well. So just be patient with us while we get all that out there for you, everyone. So, Sid, if you had nothing else, I will go ahead and let you go then.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Charles.
All right. Thank you very much, Sid.
Bye-bye.
Bye.